guys, welcome back to the channel. Today I'm gonna be reacting to a video called Why Swedes Are Obsessed with Sports. So I think, it had never occurred to me to think of like Swedish people as being like super obsessed with like a sport in particular, but I think it makes sense if I think about this through, because it's like, well, for number one, I'm guessing they mean like actual like snow sports or winter sports, as in like snow, like skiing, snow skating, and hockey. I think those are like sports that are played in the winter, and it makes sense for Sweden to actually be into like a lot of like winter sports. And also, I think they're very an outdoorsy type. They're very into like exercising and just like playing sports in general. So, if I think about this through, it's like, well, is it that weird that they're obsessed? Probably not. But I don't know if like they mean actually obsessed, as in like, oh, I'm a super fan of like this specific hockey team. Or it's just I'm obsessed with like actually playing the sport, in specific sport. But also I'm wondering if they also like that includes like other sports like football or tennis or basketball, like some other things, or baseball. I don't think that's a thing actually. But I'm excited, so let's check it out and comment, like, and subscribe.
So if, like me, you've only been living here in Sweden for 3 or 4 years or less, you probably haven't missed the fact that there is something huge just about to happen around the corner. Yes, there's social media adverts plastered all over our feeds, there's posters all over town, the Winter Olympics are just around the corner, and as the Swedes are proud to tell you, they love all things winter sport. And if, like me, you're from abroad yourself, with the exception of a handful of countries, you've probably never watched the Winter Olympics before. In fact, when you think
yeah, I think most people are more familiar with the Summer Olympics. Those are the most famous ones, just because you have all the like famous sports. You have, and the superstars are there. You have, the athletics and gymnasts, and what are the other, swimming. Like those, I think, are probably the most like famous sports. So it makes sense that most people are not. They're pretty unfamiliar with like the Winter Olympics, also a thing.
Olympics, the only thing you're thinking about is the triple jump, the track events, and everything else at Summer Olympics. But winter sport is no laughing matter here in Sweden, so I thought I would put together this video as your one-stop guide to help get you ready for the next 3 weeks of small talk in the fika room. So consider this video your cheat sheet or your fast pass to making it look like you have at least some idea what's going on when the Winter Olympics get underway later this week. So watch along, as over the next few minutes I'm going to guide you through some of the weird and wacky sports that are going to be on your TV screens over the next few weeks, as well as some of the Swedes to look out for that are participating in those events. By the end, you're going to be able to impress all of your Swedish colleagues by making it look like you have any idea what's going on.
Like root for the ones in like.
So let's kick off by getting to grips with some of the basics. So if you don't know already, the Winter Olympics 2022 gets underway this Friday in China, and over the next 3 weeks there's going to be a total of 109 different medals up.
Hold on, do they do this? What do I thought that the Olympics were the Summer and the Winter Olympics were in the same country? I'm pretty sure Beijing was not 3 years ago. I think the Summer Olympics were in, I can't remember, but it wasn't. I'm pretty sure it wasn't Beijing.
For grabs across 15 different sports. And this time around, there's a total of 7 entirely new events on the agenda, but we'll get more into that a little bit later. And as far as we know so far, 91 individual nations have qualified to be able to participate in this year's games.
And I think it's fewer countries at the Summer Olympics as well, but makes sense because countries that don't have like winter sports or winter climates, they're not going to be participating in this.
I say, of course, so far, because there's this weird, dreaded virus going around at the minute, and it's kind of having an impact on how many athletes are actually making it to China safely and in a condition where they are allowed to participate. And why is this such a big deal to the Swedes, you ask? Well, this year, Sweden is sending one of the world's biggest delegations. There will be 116 athletes representing this Scandinavian nation. To put that into perspective, my country, the UK, are sending about 55. Not to mention that the Swedes have set themselves extremely high expectations for this games. In fact, they're predicting that it's going to be their most successful winter games ever. And to put that into perspective, the last Winter Olympics in South Korea was one of the Swedes' best performances ever, when they brought home a total of 7 gold medals. So they are expecting some big bananas this year. Now, as I mentioned earlier, shortly we'll be getting into some of the Swedes whose names you're going to want to have on the tip of your tongue in the fika room this year, the real ones to watch. But first, I want to dig into into some of the weird and wacky sports that are going to be gracing your TV screens over the next 3 weeks. Because if, like me, this is going to be your first experience of the Winter Olympic Games, you probably think that this event is all about slalom skiing, cross-country skiing, hockey, and bobsleighing. Which, let's face it, we only know as a sport thanks to that epic classic film, Cool Runnings. But let me tell you what, you guys, if you're flicking through your TV channels later this month and you come across the Winter Olympics, you are in for a treat, because there are some real wacky highlights this year. The first of which is speed skating. And this one is exactly what it sounds like on the tin. It's people running on ice, because that sounds oh so safe. And at the Olympics this year, there'll be two different varieties, long track and short track, the only difference of course being the distance, but the reality is this is a competitive race where people compete against each other to clear.
Hold on, I think I've seen that, but do they do that in also? No, I'm pretty sure they don't do that anywhere else. Okay, side note. Looks dangerous.
A distance of ice as quickly as possible. It's basically just a running event, but on ice. And what makes this event even more comical to me is where it got its roots, because the first official documented speed skating event took place in the Netherlands, where of course they don't have the most reliable of winters. It's a bit like the UK. Some years things freeze over.
Oh my god, you're like trying to run and it was a lake and the ice cracked and then you're like, please help me, I'm being, it's dangerous, like you're gonna freeze to death in a water that's been recently frozen.
Other years, not so much. And the people there wanted to get out and about and get their skating on, but they couldn't really rely on the fact that the ice would withstand their weight, so they created this event where they had to get across the ice as quickly as possible to avoid being swallowed whole when the ice cracked. And now, you guys, it's an Olympic event. The second
it still sounds incredibly dangerous.
baffling event to keep an eye out for over the next few weeks is luge. And I don't even know if I'm really saying that right, because the name gives nothing away. Well, what if I was to tell you that this...
I think I've seen those. Is that the one where you just like jump? It's like a tunnel. It looks like an amusement park thing where you just like jump. It's like sledding, but you're like sitting down.
This is actually a sledding event where apparently people go down an icy slope feet first and use their calf muscles to control their direction. So I guess you could say this is like bobsleighing, but without the bobsleigh, because it seems so sensible to throw yourself feet first down an icy slope going at 140 kilometers an hour without a custom-made vehicle to keep you safe. And if that last event has got your brain left scrambled...
It's funny because again, I want to know how fast do they actually go. But seriously, out of context, it's like water parks have this or something similar to this. Most water parks have it.
Well, then I couldn't do a video about the Winter Olympics without talking about the biathlon, because this is an event which has got every single foreigner that comes to Sweden baffled. And whilst you might not recognise it by the name biathlon alone, here in Sweden it gets the title skidskytte, and it's exactly what it sounds like on the tin. It's skiing and rifle shooting combined into one sport. And again, is it just me that's noticing that the real competition at the Winter Olympics seems to be how life-threatening can we make the events and still get away with calling them a sport? And if you're not...
he makes a good point. Everything's dangerous, but I think you could say the same about a lot of sports, especially like Summer Olympics. I think they also have like dangerous sports. So, maybe.
Familiar with this event, basically what it is this cross-country trail where every so often you reach a shooting range to get your rifle out and shoot a number of different targets.
That doesn't make any sense.
And basically every time you miss a target, you will either get some sort of distance or time penalty, which is of course used to define who the winner becomes.
Oh my god, they have to like ski with the whole like the bow and the arrow situation.
And at least in modern times, this sport is believed to come from an 18th century Norwegian military training exercise. Yes, you heard that right. And yes, it's now a sport somehow. But yet again, it's quite novel and entertaining to watch, so I understand why the Swedes are so gripped by this one. Now, whilst there's so many more...
I would love to know someone that has actually participated in this or that actually plays the sport, because they have a lot of questions.
Weird and wonderful sports to look out for at the Winter Olympics. One final category that I didn't think I could end this video without mentioning is what I'm dubbing aerial gymnastics. And I'm using this as quite an open term to describe a range of events which involve jumping off some sort of slope and doing weird, crazy acrobatics in the air. The first...
Isn't that just skiing? Well, no, because skiing, like, you have to go faster than the rest? Confused.
Which is big air, which is a self-described high injury.
Oh my god, okay.
Where the competitor rides skis down a ramp and performs aerial tricks after launching
Jesus.
off. The better the...
Oh, this is like gymnastics because you have to like, and I'm guessing they'll rate you like when you do like a double pike, whatever, and you know, the harder, like the more points you get. So it's like gymnastics, but in skis, I think, and in the snow instead of like a mat.
Tricks, and the cleaner the landing, the more points you score. And then there's the mixed team aerials, a new event for this year, which as far as I can tell is based off of the same principle, except the team is made up of competitors of both genders, 3 in total, and they get points based on the combined performance of all 3 athletes.
Like gymnasts, but I'm wondering why it's at night. Like, I can't see properly. Wouldn't this be like more appropriate to make this in the daylight where we can all see?
Problem with this one being, if any one of those athletes suffers a nasty fall, that automatically means that your team will not be getting a podium place, and at least one of you will be spending 2022 in a hospital bed. Oh no! And now that we got...
But that's, again, those team sports are like that. Especially, again, it's like you have to... It's a compromise. Like, I wouldn't imagine the pressure. That sounds awful. But, you know, it's like that. So, team sports... You know, that's team sports for you. Basically.
That out the way, I'm sure there's lots of you out there that are wondering which Swede should I be looking out for at this year's Olympics, and I'm glad you asked. And if I'm being completely honest with you, the answer to that question is less clear this year than usual. And the reason for that, of course, is that every athlete that is competing in China this year is up against a strict regime of testing requirements, so it's kind of unclear which ones of them will actually get to compete when their event day comes. For example, over just last weekend, it was reported that sadly Leo Johansson becomes the first Swede to test positive on arrival to China. That means his future in Team Sweden's Olympic Games group is looking less and less likely, only 2 weeks after last testing positive for the disease. So that in mind, take what I'm about to say with a pinch of salt, because none of us know which athletes will get to compete when the time comes, but at the moment, at this point in time, when I'm filming, these are some of the Swedes that you're going to want to keep your eyes out for on your TV screens for the next few weeks. The first, of course, is Charlotte Kalla, who is a Swedish cross-country skier who will actually be returning in Beijing for her 4th Olympic Games off the back of 3 golds at the last 3 Winter Games. That puts her on par with...
I think it's good, obviously, because you're like, oh, you already won. But I think I can't even imagine like how pressure it is on the athlete of like, I have to replicate or even improve like the last thing I've done. It's gotta be a mind trip. It's gotta be awful.
Sweden's all-time greatest Olympians. Then you've got Stina Nilsson, who is a very interesting athlete in her own right, having won individual sprint gold in cross-country just 2 years ago, before deciding that was clearly too simple a sport for her, so she switched it up, and now she's back to compete under the biathlon instead. The third Swede making my must-watch list this year is Nils van der Poel, who set a new world mark over 5,000 meters at the speed skating back in December, so he'll definitely be one to watch if you can catch him before he blurs past your screen. And then we have to spare an extra special mention to Oskar Eriksson and Almida de Waal, who are the first Swedes to taste the Olympic action this year. In fact, they will begin their campaign today against Team GB in the mixed curling. And I think it's fair to say that we already know who's getting thrashed in that matchup. So there you have it, you guys. That's my roundup of all the things weird and wonderful to watch out for this year at the Winter Olympic Games. Now, I really want to hear from you guys, so let me know down in the comment section down there. Which Swedes will you be watching out for this year? Will we be watching the games at all? How many medals do you think we can expect Team Sweden to be bringing home? I, for one, will definitely be back on this video in 3 weeks' time, scrolling through your comments to see which of you was the closest, and I would love to hear all of your recommendations and predictions. But with that said, we've reached the end of another video, so thank you so much for watching this one. Hit subscribe if you haven't done so already. Weekly videos from me at the minute, and I can't wait to see you guys all again next week. And then smash that like button if you haven't done so already to let me know you're enjoying this style of content. That's all I got to say for now though, so good luck Team GB and of course Team Sweden at the upcoming Winter Olympics. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys next week. But until then, thank you and goodbye.
Okay, I think it's very, like, when he was like thinking about this, when he was like talking about this, I was thinking it's gonna be, again, with the whole like I know obviously not winter sports in particular, but I think for athletes in the Olympics in general, because I think I'm putting the Olympics as the example because I think it's every like athlete's dream to actually make it to the Olympics and obviously like earn a medal, earn gold, or not even gold, just like any medal for your country and for yourself. But again, it's gonna be so hard to do this, and obviously you take like you prepare your whole life for this. And there's like so many things that can go wrong, especially like if you get sick, it's like you're out, so you have to wait another 4 years. That awful sucks. But also the whole thing of like, okay, I get it, I'm healthy, I'm winning this. You won, great, you feel on top of the world. I won, my goal is finished. But of course, you always want more, and people obviously around you are telling you like, if you're in a great shape and you can do more, because obviously they start, I think, a lot quite young. So it's like you still can do more. So it's not like you're not doing one Olympics and that's it. And of course, it's your own personal goal. And I think again, people would find it a little bit hard to stop. It's not the same, but I think it's like where someone's like betting or they're gambling, and you won one time, and because you won that time, you're like, oh, I have to keep going because I won once. Not obviously the same. The other, gambling, it depends on luck, and you can get a gambling addiction. But in sports, I think it's something similar, as if like you won and you always gonna want more. And especially I think with athletes, they have like a very specific like mindset of you always want more, and you know that you can, because again, that's your whole life, and that's your brain. It's like it's telling you, I can do more and I can keep going. So it's like, of course you're not gonna stop at one. You're gonna keep going, you're gonna classify, you're gonna still do it. But I think the pressure, I think the first time, I think it's more about like you're competing. I think, well, you're always competing with yourself. But I think in the second one, in their second Olympics, I think it's gonna be like such an awful thing, because again, you're like, what happens if I don't actually manage to do as good as I did it before? And what happens if like I earn gold and now maybe I earn a bronze? Like, is that thing as seen for them as a bad thing because you're like, I can't replicate that? Or even worse, what happens if you don't get anything? Which I'm pretty sure so many athletes go through this. Like, again, having an Olympic medal and going to the Olympics, it's not something that a lot of people can do. Like, in general, it's like you're part of a very specific set of the population, and you should be proud just to actually get to the Olympics. Like, that's an incredible feat. But I think I'm wondering, because you always have this thing in your head of like, no, I have to do better, I can do better, and I already did it, so I can, I already did it, I can do it again. But it's like not always, because it depends on so many factors that I think it's going to be such an awful thing to actually go through all of this, and you went through this, and then maybe like you're not earning and you're not getting those medals that you won last time. It's gonna be such an awful situation. And I think that's just like winter sports and summer sports and the Olympics in general. I think it's gonna be such an awful thing. Obviously, I guess they have like psychological like preparation, they have therapy, and they have obviously ways to manage this, because I can't imagine like you're crumbling under the pressure. Like it's gonna suck. But besides that, I think it's very like those sports, I think they're very like they're wacky. Yes, I think the wackiest one to me, again, is like the one that is like the sort of like acrobatics like in the air. Looks incredibly dangerous. Yes, of course. But again, it's more like, again, it's like gymnasts do that all the time. I'm wondering how you actually start on this. Like, do you start practicing indoors, or do you just like, when I'm starting, obviously you have to start them young. I think like most sports that you have to start them like 3 or 5 years old. So it's like, do you start them you start in like in a mat in a gym, or do you actually like put people here like, go, jump up the hill, do stuff? It's like, no, I think you have to prepare in a mat. I would think of like make the jumps, and then the whole like spins in the air, and then maybe you do the whole skiing part in the snow. I think the worst part is like you're gonna fall. I think you're always scared of, I'm gonna fall. It's gonna happen. Like, I'm pretty sure like every athlete's gonna tell you that, especially in those sports that involve flying in the air. You're gonna fall, especially at the beginning, and maybe even later on. I think even more like the most expert, like the most like athletes that have like a lot of experience, probably happens from time to time. Maybe you like fell wrong, and you did the whole thing wrong and you just fell. So it's like you have to overcome, I think, the whole like, oh, I'm scared of falling. I think it's more important that you have to overcome that fear, because it's gonna happen to you, and you just have to get used to falling. It's like, it's gonna be okay. It's not the end of the world. You fell, whatever. Is it gonna hurt? Probably, because I'm thinking like, again, how dangerous is this? Because again, if gymnasts like it's very dangerous. I know, but you're at the end of the day, you're sort of like, you're in a mattress, and it's like a soft mattress. And even then, like when they're doing like the parallel, the bars, I think they're called, they have like the trainer there to catch them if they fall, because it's incredibly dangerous, even with a mattress. And in here, I'm like, you don't even have a mattress. It's just snow. So snow, I think it looks like, oh, fluffy and stuff. No, but this is ice. Like this is a very hard surface. So what happens if you fall? You can actually break something, which again, that's part of the whole thing. I guess like most of these people have gotten injuries. Again, all sports that involve spinning, you're spending time in the air. It happens, but I'm wondering if this is even a little bit more dangerous just because of the surface, because again, the others have like this soft mattress, and in this case, you're just falling, and you're just falling on snow, which is like incredibly, it's just ice, it's gonna be super hard. And obviously they have like the helmets, which gymnasts do not have, so it's like an extra layer of protection. And I'm guessing they have like the little knee things, and probably the elbows, but in general, like you can still break your leg or your arm, or again, it protects your head, which obviously is the most important part. You don't want to get a concussion. But even then, I'm wondering, do they still get concussions? Do they fall? I know that obviously, like football players in American football, they still get concussions, and they wear helmets as well. And it's just on the ground. So in the snow, I would think isn't this like more dangerous than all those sports? So this to me, I think would be the most interesting to watch. I think because I love the idea of like seeing the all acrobatics in the air. I think I would love that. But again, I'm so concerned about their health and, their physical health and whether or not they're going to fall. But I love that. The other one that is just, I think was called luge. Like those are the ones that are just like spinning around. We're not spinning. They're just like sledding down this, I don't even know because I can't even see. Like it's like a curved thing, a slide. Yes, I think it's just a slide. It's funny because again, it reminds me again of like water sports. Like amusement parks have this, only that you're in the water. So obviously when it slides over, you just like end up in the pool. But in this case, how do you actually like? I don't think we got to see in the clip. How because you're going so fast, it's like how does it end? Like who stops you? Like did you just have to crash against something? What do they have? You're not falling on snow, that seems crazy. But now I want to look it up and see like how are they actually, like when do they stop? Because otherwise like I just fell, like you just like, again, it's like I think it's a little board or something, or maybe they don't even know. Yes, they had a little thing, a little equipment, and it's not just like they're sliding on their own, because that would be like, imagine the friction. No, of course not. But I want to know actually, and also like how fast can they go, because the clip they showed, they were going fast. It's like, okay, this looks quite frightening, but it's like, well, again, it's like maybe like equivalent to riding all those the Summer Olympics and the summer sports, like bicycling. You're also going very fast, but I think maybe with a bicycle it's different, and in this case it's like you're just on your own. You're just like, I'm going so fast. It's like so scary. It's a scary situation, especially when they have like those curves and those bends. It's like, I'm falling here. I want to know how fast can they actually go, because they look very fast. The whole like the skating, the fast skating is funny, like how it came to be, because like again, I think that one to me seems the most safe. Not how it started incredibly unsafe, but in this case it's like that looks fun as well, because it looks like a funny sport to actually watch. People are just like trying to like, they're running on ice, but it's funny, and I don't know how, like it doesn't look that dangerous. Maybe unless like you broke your ankle, but it's funny that one. I would love to watch that one. And the other of like the whole, I got confused. It wasn't a bow and an arrow. It was, I think, just shooting us in with an actual, I think it was, do they have like a shotgun or a rifle? I think there's several actually. When it comes to like firearms and the Olympics, I know there's different categories. In this case, I don't know I think it was a rifle. But it's kind of crazy. I mean, there is a military training exercise, which it makes sense now you're telling me. It's like, oh, okay. Because they don't really get I don't really see like the connection between them as a sport. As in like, why would I, like, again, maybe it's, it's a whole like, you're excelling at different things, and that's why it's like a triathlon, like, yes, or I know there's several of them, but it's like that's the whole idea. You're a complete athlete. You excel at different sort of like categories, which makes sense. in general, but in this case, I'm like, well, it's seeing it like this out of context without you telling me it's a military training exercise. It is very weird. It's like, why are you shooting and also skiing? It's like, why would you need to do that? Especially I think when you're like skiing and they also need to have the equipment, like a backpack. It's like, that's so random. I think more than weird, it's random. And now I get the explanation, but maybe it's not that different to like the summer events, just because, and then it's weird to me because it's like a lot of like, well, what are they gonna do? They can't run and track. They can't do the whole like jumping with the one that's, they have like a giant stick and they like jump on top of the bar. They can't do those things because it's snow. So, makes sense to me a little. But I don't know. It's very interesting, and I think it's very funny, and I think they should they should work on getting, well, obviously in Sweden, not in Sweden, because always is, Winter Olympics are a huge thing in Sweden, apparently. But I think the rest of the world, I think pays less attention to those Winter Olympics, and they're very fun. I think they should work on like gaining popularity in other places. But also I'm wondering if like the Swedish people also like pay more attention to this Winter Olympics, and the Summer Olympics are just like, it's the equivalent for the rest of the world, where they don't really pay that much attention, because it's like, we're not paying that much attention to this. Makes, I don't know, we'd love to know as well. Or they pay equal attention to all of them. Probably yes, because they're very into sports. But that was it for today, and I'll see you next time. Bye!